This is the Propaganda Report. Whoa, that's, there you go. There's the music of Justin Ridgway, who I hoped would be joining us tonight to maybe tell us about some of the inspiration, but I don't know that he's going to be able to make it. Sorry for the delay. I was trying to add kick.com to the stream, another platform to stream it to. It was recommended to me, and I was trying it, and it wasn't working. It was just some. What's up, Steve? White light. Thank you. Steve says it's white lightning, dog. You know, I got back in the gym today, shot around, trying to get that lightning back, Steve. Have you guys heard of Kick? Do you guys use kick.com, anybody? I think it's I don't know what it is, really, honestly. I just know that it did not work for us tonight, so we'll be moving on from that. Maybe we'll try it again next time. Nevertheless, let's start the show. Hitler's propaganda, fear of flat earthers, and Met Gallery co-opted? This is a Propaganda Report. Brad Binkley here on your 6th of May. May the 6th be with you. Is that how it works? Did I get that wrong? Isn't there one for like may the something be with you every single day? I'm not quite sure. I just know that I think it's very, very gay. Sometimes funny, oftentimes gay. What's up, Sam? What's up, Groby? Okay, so hit that like button if you're watching live, by the way. As P. Stoner often says, smash it. Smash it. Share it with people. You can wait to share it to see if you like it first. I know it reflects on you when you share something because you want the people to like what you share. So I understand. But if you do like it and you think it would reflect well on you later, share it. I want to dive right into this. I'm going to make a separate isolated video of this also. I heard Scott Adams, the Dilbert comic writer, recently wondering out loud on his show about where Hitler got his propaganda from. Not the content of his propaganda, but his technique and strategy, stuff like that, which is a very good question. He was talking about it in the context of why it would be useful to read Mein Kampf, which I've read, and I've talked about it on this show many, many times. I think I have it right over there. And I specifically bought for the purpose that Scott Adams was talking about, which is I want to understand the propaganda mindset. There's an entire chapter on propaganda. The effectiveness of his propaganda is taught historically. It's spoken about historically. You'd be stupid not to read that book. And yet they make it seem, the media does, and people who use identity politics, as though if you own Mein Kampf, then you are evil. Are you evil, or are you knowing your enemy? Like The Art of War. I bought every single propaganda book that I could get my hands on like 10 years ago because I wanted to know the ways we were all being manipulated. That's how I ended up getting into this show. Because it's extraordinary. The people who create these propaganda structures and these, infrastructures that every country is kind of built in, that the people who pull the strings operate outside of, while the rest of us are within, not realizing there's people operating outside. All the people listening to this show know there is. But this idea that if you read Mein Kampf or you own it, you're an evil person, that in and of itself is propaganda, and most likely an attempt to prevent you from reading about how the propaganda works. And my whole philosophy on Hitler's book was I'm confident I can read all of the ideal, because his book is propaganda also. So there's a chapter on how he thinks about propaganda, and then there's also a bunch of propaganda that tries to make you hate gay people, black people, any minority, Jewish people. I was not affected by any of that stuff. I was confident I could read that and not put a swastika on my forehead, a tattoo, and then start marching up and down the street looking for my fellow Nazis. I knew I wasn't going to be influenced that way. And so what I always say is, if you think you don't have the strength not to turn into a literal Nazi by reading what is obvious propaganda by Hitler from the 30s, then maybe don't read it. But if you'd like to learn about what the enemy, and I don't just mean Hitler, I mean all of those who are in power, who use propaganda against the public while telling them that only other countries and other people in power use it. If you'd like to know how they all think, then yeah, read it, and read all of the other propaganda books as well, like this one that I'm about to talk about. Going back to what Scott Adams was saying about where did Hitler get his propaganda from, his technique, his strategy. Well, that's a great question, as I said, and I have an answer to that. He got it from this book right here. Hitler got his propaganda from this book in my hands, 1923, called Crystallizing Public Opinion, by the one and only Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who was or is the uncle of Netflix co-founder Mark Rudolph, and who was one of the most prolific propagandists of the 20th century. Edward Bernays says in one of his books that public relations is the new propaganda, because he rebranded public relations after the term, he rebranded propaganda after the term got a bad rap because of the way him and others in the Committee on Public Information, which was the World War I, the United States Propaganda Committee that helped turn a neutral America into a war-hungry America on the side of the British. Admitting in this book, this other Bernays book, admitting in this book on page 75, this one's called Public Relations by Bernays, admitting that they made up atrocity stories, that it was revealed the public learned were made up, and they were angry about their gullibility. That's what it says in this book. The public was angry about their gullibility. And so there was an angrily pushback by Americans against propaganda. So what did Bernays do? Well, he created the new propaganda, public relations, and he documents that entire change in this book. The new propaganda is public relations. Regardless of what it is, propaganda, whatever you call it, public relations, it's all about crystallizing public opinion in the direction that they want it. Compelling action, compelling inaction. And this is what Hitler based his campaign against the Nazis, based his Nazi propaganda campaign against the Jews in World War II on. That's not me saying that. I'm not assuming that. Edward Bernays himself is the one who makes this claim. Edward Bernays claims in another book of his, which I'm going to show you, because I have all of his books. He makes a claim in his 1965 autobiography, which is called Biography of an Idea, that Hitler based his campaign against the Jews on this book right here, Crystallizing Public Opinion, published in 1923. People talk about his book Propaganda. This one is far, far more insightful, and if you're a propagandist, practically useful. Now, I don't have the hard copy of his autobiography, Biography of an Idea, because let me show you. Where did those images go? Hold on, I got to pull the images up that I thought I had already pulled up. Here's why. You'll see why I don't have a copy of it. Because it's $400. A hard copy of this book is $400. Just like a hard copy of one of his other books, Engineering of Consent, last time I checked was like $550. Kind of hard for the average citizen to get, we can all scrape together that money, but is that what we're going to spend it on, a book? Why are these books that expensive? I don't know. I photocopied Engineering of Consent from a library at Emory. This book, instead of getting the hard copy of it, what I did was I got the Kindle version of it. Where's the Kindle? And I'm going to show you what he says, because they're the same as far as I can tell. I've set these images up before the show, and they're gone now. It's unbelievable. All right, so this is the Kindle version of the book, which is much less expensive. Is that the right one? Yeah, you can get that on Amazon for like $12. So if you want to read and verify what I'm saying, get this one, and you can type in the search thing to find the words that you're looking for, and I'm going to say them, and you can look in it. I think it's on like page 652 if you want to spring for the hard copy. But here is, hold on, I got to find these screenshots of my Kindle that I took. All right, no, sorry. All right, I want to make sure. So there you go. Biography of an Idea, The Foundation of Public Relations by Edward Bernays is the Kindle version. You can see it at the top there. And here is what Bernays says. Let me put that on screen. All right, there you go. So Bernays says in chapter 55 of Biography of an Idea, and excuse my German, I do not speak good German, so I'm going to, and it's kind of funny because they say Goebbels and this other guy's name back to back quite frequently. Here's what it says. In the section, chapter 55, in the von Wiegand, Carl von Wiegand section. I know I'm saying that wrong. Wiegand, whatever. It says, or Bernays recounts an interaction that he had with Wiegand after Carl von Wiegand returned from Germany in 1933 during Hitler's rise. This guy was a journalist who spent a lot of time in Germany. He was like the longest serving German-born American journalist, something like that. Bernays says in this book, on screen here, Carl von Wiegand, foreign correspondent of the Hearst newspapers, an old hand at interpreting Europe and just returned from Germany, was telling us about Goebbels and his propaganda plans to consolidate Nazi power. Goebbels had shown of Wiegand his propaganda library, the best Wiegand had ever seen. Goebbels, said Wiegand, used my book, Crystallizing Public Opinion, as a basis for his destructive campaign against the Jews of Germany. You can see that on screen from the book, and you can verify it in the hard copy or in the Kindle version. I'll read it again. Goebbels, said Wiegand, was using my book, Crystallizing Public Opinion, as a basis for his destructive campaign against the Jews of Germany. Bernays then says, this shocked me, but I knew any human activity can be used for social purposes or misused for antisocial ones. Obviously, the attack on the Jews of Germany, notice how he says Jews of Germany, was no emotional outburst of the Nazis, but a deliberate, planned campaign. This book talks about a deliberate, planned campaign. So does Engineering of Consent, in very detailed fashion. And it's very interesting that Bernays says he was shocked by this revelation, because in that very next sentence, he contradicts that statement by saying he knows full well that any human activity could be misused. He's implying that he knows his work could be taken by somebody like Hitler and used for ill intent. Or if you look at Bernays' work, like convincing all of America that a democratically elected president in Guatemala was a communist, and causing a coup that Bill Clinton, I believe, was the one who eventually apologized for years later. While Bernays was working with the CIA and working with United Fruit Company to help that corporation profit and to help the CIA do a regime change. You know, some might think that what he does isn't so great, but that's what Bernays does. Bernays wasn't shocked by any of this. And anybody who's read anything he's done, like this book or any of his other books, or seen any of his interviews, knows that he's definitely not shocked by many things when it comes to propaganda or anything when it comes to propaganda, because he, at this time, and for many decades afterwards, was a world-renowned expert on it. He researched the propaganda campaigns of other countries. He wrote about it. He aggressively promoted this book, Crystallizing Public Opinion, internationally with the help of his uncle, Sigmund Freud, in Germany. So for him to be surprised that it found its way into the hands of Goebbels in his library and was used by Hitler on the Jews, that's a little weird for him to be surprised by something that he was basically throwing at them. And anybody, again, who's read his work or listened to his interviews knows exactly the tone that Bernays is speaking in right here. He's not speaking in a shock tone. He's speaking in an arrogant, boasting tone. He wasn't like, oh my gosh, oh no. He had that smirk he has in all of his interviews. And he was very impressed and proud of himself. Why in the world would someone admit in an autobiography or claim that their book was Hitler's basis of the Nazi propaganda against the Jews if they weren't boasting about it? Most people would keep that a secret. They go, oh no, what have I done? He's writing about it in his autobiography. My propaganda was used to exterminate Jews, something that's especially weird to admit by someone like Edward Bernays, who happens to be a Jew. So I hope that answers the question. Was the propaganda inspired by other types of propaganda? Of course it was. But if you've read this book and you think about and you read about Nazi propaganda, Bernays ain't lying, okay? This is a playbook right here. Rachel Maddow probably reads this thing every night before she goes to sleep. Just like everybody on CNN and Fox News and all the other major networks. Hitler's book on your nightstand being bad. This book right here. I got this book and I read it. I remember when I got it. I didn't know any of this because all I knew about was propaganda. I read this thing and this book's like, all news is created. None of it happens spontaneously. I'm like, wait, what? He's just admitting that? You have to, the pugnacious instinct. You have to make people fight against each other, and you have to stage events to make people fight, to divide. It's like all in this book. And you can get it for like $11 on Amazon. So there's where some of Hitler, according to Edward Bernays, some of his Nazi propaganda came from. Okay. All right, moving on real quick, and I hate doing this. I really hate it. If you like the show, and if you like similar type of unique information like that, which I just provided, or like the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, the document that I've been showing and talking about recently that literally nobody else has shown because they don't know how to find it. You can't find it in a regular Google search. If you like that kind of stuff, and you like somebody who's a little retarded and silly, delivering that information, talking about it, then help support the show. I'm doing like 7 jobs at once on this show. And if you're a regular viewer, you've probably noticed lately that the show freezes up like at least one time a show, especially if somebody else is on. Hopefully it doesn't do it here. That's because my tech is average. I have average tech that's overloaded. You know, it's better than it once was, but not as good as I need it to be. And I'm doing what I can on a budget to prevent the camera from freezing up, the audio from blowing out, and my entire setup from overloading and catching fire, really. And sometimes no matter what I do, the precautions I take, it'll still freeze up, and I won't even know what the hell happened. Nevertheless, I spend less time asking for donations than probably literally every single show. And I'll go weeks without even bringing this shit up because I hate it. I hate doing it. I don't want to come off like other shows that have like an hour-long show and they spend 40 minutes selling products and asking for donations, and then like 20 minutes talking about something 18 other people have already said. And I don't want my purpose to be confused, because my purpose is not a grift. It never has been. Nor has it been to be a salesman. Maybe it should be, but it never has been. It's always been to expose propaganda to the best of my ability in a way that's as honest as I can be about it. Because I mean, I get shit wrong all the time, with kind of an optimistic attitude, in a way that is at least a little bit entertaining. And that's what I try to do. And I hate. I have a passionate dislike for grifters. I never want to sound like them, which is why I have a repulsion for long promotion segments like this. So, it's why I rarely do it. But, you know, I don't like the grifters among us, but they're raking it in, and some of them thriving. Wow, despite like providing some pretty good information that maybe some other people provide. I haven't heard anybody, but I do try to work pretty hard to find stuff, and I do try to package it in a way that's like useful. And I want to keep doing that. And I want to keep having fun. I want to keep communicating with you guys. And I'm going to get to the chats in a minute. I see a lot of chats coming up, and I just want to get. I hate these. I hate doing segments like this, but I have to. So if you like that and you want to help the show, donate to the show. You do a one-time donation at tinyurl.com/propshow, or a recurring donation, or become a subscriber at patreon.com/propagandareport or propreport.locals.com. Subscribing to either one of those will get you access to the show that I do with Austin Picard of the Already Dead podcast and Sam Tripoli of the Tinfoil Hat podcast, which that's a show that many people who have subscribed said is their favorite show. It is a good show, and it's a lot of fun. And you can also help out if you're just listening on audio by just letting the ads play through. We don't get anything if the ads are skipped. Or you can share it with friends if you like it, if you think they'll like it. You can leave a 5-star review. You can leave a comment that warms my heart. Or you can donate on the live show right now if you're listening live to any show through Rumble or YouTube. Whatever. You guys know that. You guys know how it works. I have to do this occasionally, and I appreciate all you guys. Let's do some more show. Let me look at some comments real quick. Sup, Sam, Steve. Hit them thumbs. That's right, Steve. You're right about that. Oh, man, Groby, I forgot to I got that barrister's wig, the British barrister's wig, to talk about law school stuff. I should have worn that today. Maybe I'll wear that later. Force Mommy says she has to switch between me and government thing. You are all over showing up in Colorado, and I feel like you have like an army behind you, Force Mommy, that goes with you. I mean, that's great work. It's hard to get up and get off the couch and do that stuff. OHMZ1, the most powerful weapon in warfare is propaganda. Absolutely. 100%. Nothing's compared to it. And the most powerful thing about it is, I think we're all convinced at some point in time, maybe not all of us, I think people become more aware, but people are convinced they can't be bamboozled by it, which is funny because there's Lord Northcliffe of the British War Propaganda Bureau in World War I. He sent these sleeper cell agents around the world to try and sway various countries to go from neutral in favor of the Brits. That's how they got us to create the Committee on Public Information. Bernays talks a little bit about that in his autobiography as well. And one of the guys they sent over here, like H.G. Wells, I can't remember where he went, but he was one of the guys. They sent literary agents everywhere because they knew these guys were famous. They were lords and dukes and writers, and when they showed up to other countries, people would be like, what a celebrity. Oh my gosh, I want them to come to my party. And they would send these people to target the academics and the most influential celebrities in those countries. And this guy, Sir Gilbert Parker, who was a writer, who came over here, and he would bend the ear of all of our most powerful academics and celebrities, and then he would write letters back and forth to Lord Northcliffe. And in those letters, they would make fun of how gullible these elites of America were, because they didn't think they could be fooled, which made them the easiest to be fooled. And that's why they went after them. They thought they were so smart, and they just wanted lords and dukes at their parties. So he would come over there, and he would just whisper in their ear, and then he'd make them think they were buddies, and he'd speak propaganda right into their ear canal. And then he'd write to Lord Northcliffe about how stupid they are. And that works. And there's a form of that going on right now. The Jewish rag trade. Yeah. Thank you, JC. I appreciate that. Whatever this is. Yeah, Steve. It's a fun show for sure. Those guys are great, Austin and Sam. It is crazy. Like, I knew that Bernays had boasted in this book, or in that his autobiography, about Hitler and Goebbels using this book as the basis of the propaganda to exterminate the Jews during World War II. But like, it didn't even dawn on me. I knew Bernays was Jewish too, but like the whole idea that he's also a Jewish guy, it just is. I think maybe something Sam said in one of those shows about, I don't know. I'll wait and ask Sam what it was he said again next time we do one of those to clarify some of that. But like, it's crazy, man. A Jewish guy who was like a Hollywood president whisperer for 50 years claims that Hitler's propaganda campaign to exterminate the Jews in Germany was based on his book. It's just like, it's crazy. It's all propaganda. Like, in social media, Edward Bernays would be so hard about what goes on social media. I mean, he's jizzing in his grave about the divide and conquer that goes on social media. All right, so moving forward, I saw this. I don't know if you guys saw some of this. I just kind of got a quick overview of it, but I saw that Trump said that the U.S. is going to stop bombing the Houthis. I hear Houthis, and I just picture Star Wars, like easy Star Wars villains. Maybe that's insensitive, but that's what I picture. Running through the sand is just being taken down by like a DEI Star Wars guy. I know that's not what they are, but that's what they sound like. The Houthis. Nevertheless, Trump said earlier today that he's going to stop bombing them after claiming that they said, or they agreed to stop interrupting the shipment lanes in the Middle East. He said this during that Oval Office meeting he was having with the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney. I don't know if you saw that, but basically it was like, you're going to be the 51st state? No, we're not. Never. Yes, you are. No, we're not. 51st state? No, we're not. 51st. And like Trump's like poking him. It was like that went on, and like in the middle of that, 51st. He was rubbing his, like, right there in the belly. And he's like, never, never. Did any of you guys see that? I thought it was funny because people were praising the reaction of Prime Minister Mark Carney, but I thought he kind of looked like a bitch, honestly. I don't know how else he could have reacted, though. He's better than Trudeau, but like, he was kind of like defiant, like never, like just very, like nobody believes him. I'm not saying we should take Canada or anything. I'm just saying that interaction was very funny to me. Because he was trying very hard to resist. Trump just kept... It's ridiculous. Nevertheless, in between all that, Trump said that the Houthis, they said, please don't bomb us anymore. We're not going to attack your ships. Just please. That's what Trump said. which is good news. And also, apparently, according to the Jerusalem Post, whatever credibility they have, they say Israel was not informed in advance. They were blindsided, actually. They didn't know that Trump was going to announce that he would stop attacking the Star Wars Houthis, according to an informed source. That's what it says in this article. It says, according to an informed source told the Jerusalem Post. Well, I typically assume when they say, according to a source, it's just an uninformed dipshit. Thank goodness they clarified. I actually do assume that. I love the different ways they do that. I used to have a list of it. I need to bring that back, of all the different ways they would cite anonymous sources. You know, according to 3 guys familiar with the trash can outside the Oval Office. According to the dry cleaner of Hunter Biden's suit in Vegas. It's just, that could be anybody. According to somebody familiar with so-and-so's thinking. Like, that's literally anybody in the planet, and that's one of the most commonly used ones. According to somebody familiar with so-and-so's thinking. I mean, aren't we all pretending to be familiar with someone's thinking? Isn't that what social media is? You in a relationship, you and your significant other are always claiming to be familiar with each other's thinking. I don't know how accurate that always is. This is good news. If it's true. If any of this is true, which I don't hold my breath. If he's going to stop bombing the Houthis, and if they decided not to tell Israel and get permission beforehand, that's all great. You know? Maybe we can avoid war with Iran. I'm not optimistic. We all knew Hitler was a Jew a long time ago, and people thought it was ironic. Yeah. Yeah, he's and that's what's crazy about his autobiography. It's like he talks about his upbringing, and he talks about his time at war, and he's going to be boosting himself up, obviously. But he talks about his art, and he talks about his, you can see the shift, and you can see what he's doing. You can see exactly what he's doing. And I don't even know that I believe that he wrote it. I mean, he kind of seems like a doofus to me. Somebody else probably wrote it for him. His origin story, it's like Stacey Abrams or AOC or any of these people. AOC's origin story is complete bullshit. She was not a bartender. Maybe she was for like a day. Here's what AOC was. AOC, by the time she graduated from Boston University, was someone who had already started like 3 different businesses, a media company and a couple of other different companies. And she had a resume of someone who could have gotten an interview at any Fortune 500 company in the U.S. And suddenly she scraps all that, pretends it doesn't exist, and she goes and plays bartender for a day so that she could run for office after being selected to run for office in the Bronx and be relatable, because you're not going to be relatable to the people whose vote you're trying to win if you've already started 3 businesses at 22 and you're like Fortune 500 material. People say she's stupid. She's playing a role. I don't underestimate her. I mean, she's probably stupid in some ways, but what we see is her specifically playing a role to agitate and get people off the couch, to organize. None of her story is true. Kernels of truth. Stacey Abrams. Almost every single story she organizes around is complete bullshit. She even teaches a class to people on creating stories based on kernels of truths to organize people based around policy and to get them to do what you want. She says kernels of truth because that sounds better than fabricating lies. So why would Hitler's origin story be any more truthful than any of these other dickheads and bitches that parade around like they run the world. I don't think I think somebody else probably wrote his book. Ohms, MZ1 says PBS Freemasonry got caught recently in a 45-minute documentary that shows how they faked the curvature of their laser test on the lake. The rubber Stephen Hawking was there. Stephen Hawking was there. That's interesting. Do you have a link for that? I'd love to check that out. All right, so moving on. You guys probably saw this. I thought this was interesting because, where's that? Hold on a second. Well, I guess I got to find it again. Did you guys see? People were talking today. This happens a lot now. You'll have somebody who has like a big following who's like, did you hear today the news that broke? The news about Fauci and gain of function from 2014 and the Wuhan lab. Did you guys hear about this story? And I'm like, yeah, I heard about that story like 4 years ago. And it's trending and all these people are shocked by it. Well, that happened again today. I'm trying to find that. There it is. All right, RFK Jr. None of this is new to most people. Yeah, I forgot that I didn't get rid of all that yet. This is why it's in people are talking about it. Because if somebody like RFK says it instead of us, I guess it gets more credibility. But here's RFK Jr. talking to, I believe, Laura Ingraham.
You need to.
That's way loud. It's way loud, I think.
Know what the risk profile is for these products.
Do you think the COVID vaccine was safe and the boosters were safe? I mean, a lot of people talk about adverse effects.
We don't have good data on it, and that is a crime. The fact that we don't have a surveillance system that...
So 100%, I've said this a number of times. The COVID stuff, I from the very, very beginning, I read the documents. Yes, of course you don't have good data on it because they specifically excluded the oldest and most vulnerable people from the trials because of the risk it posed to their health, so that they could get the efficacy numbers up, so that they could then turn right around and roll the vaccine out to the very people they excluded from the trials because of the risk it posed to their health and give it to them in the real world because they didn't care. This is new again. It's good that this gets out there.
It actually works. In 2010, CDC has a surveillance system called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And it's supposed to pick up injuries. But CDC did a study of that system in 2010. And that study said, and this is a published study by CDC, that it captures less than 1% of the vaccine injuries. That's inexcusable. Congress has repeatedly, and the Institute of Medicine, the National Academy of Sciences, have repeatedly ordered CDC to put together a better vaccine.
Will you require it?
And we will do that right away. You need to know.
I hope that they do it right away. So you guys remember that the reporting system where people would report side effects, all that there would be just thousands and thousands of people reporting side effects. And all that happened was the media would go, well, none of that's verified. That's all conspiracy theorists. It's all bogus. So how is that going to be different is what I want to know. And piggybacking on top of that, so this article, it's so great, but it's infuriating, actually. But it's also really hilarious. Hold on, let me get some of these things out of here. The New York Times published this article about how Trump has enabled fringe conspiracy theorists to have influence, basically. The headline, here it is. Check this out. This is the stupidest article the most gaslighting article I've ever, well, it's hard to say that, but in this moment, feels like that I've ever read. A headline says, Trump's return to power elevates even fringier conspiracy theories. Even fringier conspiracy theories. I got excited when I heard that because I'm like, are these new? Is this something I haven't heard yet? Bring them on. I'm just going to go through this. Subheadline says, at every level of government, authority figures are embracing once extreme ideas that the earth is flat or that the state controls the weather. This is very, very terrifying, according to the New York Times. First of all, they've been doing weather control experiments since at least Vietnam. Actually, go back to the days of Tesla over 100 years ago. China has a department of weather control. There's your first gaslight. Flat Earth. Some people have arguments. I don't know what I think. I don't know. I only know what I can prove, which is nothing. But presenting flat Earth as something scary, which is what this article is. And you'll see when they wrap this article up, because this article is intended to make people think that conspiracy theorists, white nationalists, Christian, they tie them all together, are running the government, and they're going to kill you, basically. It's just another Nazi thing, just with different language. The article goes on to say that people who question whether the earth is round, a fact understood by ancient Greeks and taught to American children in elementary school, might have been political pariahs a decade ago, but now they're running local Republican parties in Georgia, Minnesota, and seeking public office in Atlanta. Be very, very afraid. Like, if they could have thunder roar right at that moment, and that's what they should do with news, because they're trying to be, virtual. Have thunder just roar and lightning strike right at the end of paragraphs like that. So people just, they're terrified. It goes on to say, a prominent far-right activist who has said, despite years of research and intelligence establishing otherwise, that the terrorist attacks on September 11th were an inside job by the U.S. government, commemorated the 9/11 anniversary last year alongside President Trump. So that's what they're terrified, that people who question the story about 9/11 are in government now. This is the New York Times. It almost feels like they're kind of mainstreaming some of these theories in an attempt to maybe discredit them or make people so used to them they don't care anymore. They lose their power. I don't know. But that's a ridiculous thing to act like is scary. Then it says, let's skip one, skip some. It's kind of long, so I'm trying to skip some of it. It says, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, pledged the agency's support last month for a fight involving so-called chemtrails, a debunked theory that the white condensation lines streaming behind airplanes are toxic or could even be used for nefarious purposes. Oh my God. Conspiracy theorists that were regulated to the random and often anonymous online forums are now being championed or publicly debated by increasingly powerful people. Mr. Trump in particular has embraced, elevated, and even appointed to his cabinet people promoting these theories, giving the ideas a persuasive authority and a dangerous proximity to the policy. Feels like the argument is that, Dave Smith, Joe Rogan, whatever that British dude's thing was, were the authority. This feels like something related to that. It really feels like something related to that. These people are insane, says Forrest Mommy. Oh my gosh, I made a comment with a V in it, and it disappeared with a V. Did you? Did it go away? The vaccine? Or the vagina? Colorado is passing a thing right now so they can change the names 3 times. So after Trump, they can, they do that shit all the time. They love changing names so people forget about shit. And it's rebranding. I mean, Trump rebrands also, but yeah, they rebrand shit. It's crazy. I saw some of that on social media. I don't even understand the argument for that. But they make these convoluted for democracy and for, your rights argument for everything. It's like a creativity exercise. Everything is to protect your rights and your trans friends' rights. And your ability to not be deported and raped. You better support this issue. And they just connect the dots. We used to do that kind of 2 completely non-connected things. Now make them in an improv scene. Go. It's all an improv scene creativity exercise they're doing. The article goes on and says, this is a quote from some douchebag expert, I guess, they talk to. The real problem with the ideas and the communication of conspiracy theories is when they get evinced, what a pretentious word. When they get evinced by people with the power to act on them, said Joseph E. Usaneski, a professor at the University of Miami who studies conspiracy theories. He says if some guy somewhere thinks the earth is flat, the answer is, so what? But when people in power have these beliefs, it becomes a serious issue. He then added, you can wind up harming many, many people over a fantasy. Like a fantasy maybe about the vaccines being safe and effective. Can that end up harming many people? This guy's worried about the harm that's going to come from flat earth theory. What kind of harm is going to come from flat earth theory? People are going to walk off the edge of the earth, then that proves it if that happens. Otherwise, I don't know what harm this dude's thinking about until the end of this article. This entire article is it's crazy. It's like an interesting work of art, kind of propaganda art, because it builds towards one incident that it wants people to think is the norm, which is like it's not. It's completely abnormal and ridiculous. And we'll be there shortly. Then it goes on to say that debunked narratives about election fraud and vaccines have proliferated in national discourse over the past 5 years. Both of those are bullshit. Election fraud, election discrepancies have been proven by voter GA. Over and over again, that's not even in dispute. Vaccines have had side effects not even in dispute. Every vaccine has a side effect at the very base. I personally can prove, and a Dr. Emory would vouch, of vaccine side effects in my family. And so can others. But the way they lie without lying here is narratives. They call it narratives. It's not individual facts, because individual facts and instances don't matter in this case, because this is a narrative. And they call it election fraud. Very tricky with their language. And then they say a pro-Trump movement known as QAnon, always with QAnon, which makes outlandish claims that there is a global sex trafficking operation backed by the so-called deep state, was found at one point to be as popular as in the United States as some major religions. That's kind of crazy, since we have the Diddy trial starting today, and everybody now knows about Jeffrey Epstein. Wow, that's such a crazy thing to think. This is such gaslighting. It's unbelievable. The article continues saying, but the conspiracy theories now graduating into the mainstream were until recently far more marginal, and the people voicing them are growing more influential. Anna Paula Luna, This is where I think some of the intentional discrediting might be happening because I don't find her credible at all. A second-term Republican representative from Florida, whom Trump endorsed, has said she believes in that two shooters were involved in the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy, a conclusion that past inquiries into the assassination and the release of 64,000 related documents in March have not proved. What a crazy thing to believe. Who wrote this article? Tiffany HSU. HSU. It's probably Chi-Com. Tiffany HSU covers disinformation and conspiracy theories, and apparently eats too much porridge and exercises way too little, according to that picture. That's probably a good picture. If we're being honest, she's not going to put a bad picture. When you put a good picture up, and that one's fat, you're eating too much chocolate while you're gaslighting about conspiracy theories. You Chi-Com. Where were we? This is like a crazy article. It's almost, it feels like parody almost. Then they go on to say, this is where I think they're discrediting her. Miss Luna is now heading a task force to establish and examine the declassification of federal secrets, and has pledged to investigate topics that have long preoccupied conspiracy theorists, including the so-called unidentified anomalous phenomenon. That right there. Because every time she talks about that, she asks the stupidest questions. And so then when it says she's also investigating the COVID-19 pandemic and files related to 9/11 and Jeffrey Epstein's client list, which they say a recent document dump related to the disgraced financier revealed little. Okay. I think they put her on stuff like this. I don't know if it's intentional or if she just doesn't know. But she is not, based on her performance asking about UAPs, she does not give me much confidence to be someone on the top detective on any of those other subjects. Then it says here, a lot of people in authority know that this rhetoric is powerful, talking about conspiracy rhetoric. And it's a way to stoke uncertainty. And then you can say, after stoking that uncertainty, hey, if you listen to me, I can help you in your uncertainty and make sure that you and your group are going to be okay. Dr. Wang said, that's really comforting. What's up, Stella? MTG has not got her geoengineering information straight at all. Yeah, MTG she's not very specific about it, is she? It's Jewish lasers, I think she says. She's right that they can manipulate the weather, but she does not give many specifics. It shows how incompetent they are. It absolutely does. Politicians understand that conspiracy theories are the what scratches our collective psyche itch at the moment. And John Dipshit, associate professor at communications of up my ass at Wake Forest, who studies urban legends. He studies urban legends and rhetoric. What do? I study urban legends and rhetoric at Wake Forest. Oh, you must be a real dipshit. Repeating such narratives and promising to act on them. Who's promising to act on them? Enables a sort of rhetorical sleight of hand, like performing a card trick with the right hand to misdirect from what's happening in the left hand. I can assure you that what's happening in the right hand and the left hand for this guy is one is choking his own neck and the other is masturbating his own penis. Probably in front of students. That's how he studies urban legends at Wake Forest. Pursuing policy action on non-existent dangers of chemtrails, for example, allows officials to deliver symbolic satisfaction that doesn't require any tax increases or wrestling with healthcare challenges or otherwise solve any of the real and emergent problems in our society. I don't even disagree with that. I do feel like they are throwing a bunch of bones out there to say we got to win or we did this or that. And I don't know that I expect any outcomes from any of these. I definitely don't with the UAP or or really the Epstein or any of those other things. I don't expect any outcomes. I do think that has a lot of placating. So the choker masturbator at Wake Forest, I do agree there. The wild narratives are causing real world trouble, he says. The correlation between support for political violence and the tendency to classify events and circumstances as results of conspiracies tripled in magnitude from 2012 to 2022, according to an essay published in December by several researchers, including Dr. Yusinitsky at Miami. Who are these researchers? What is this data? The researchers theorized that the surge could have been caused by a steady rise in polarization, a decline in trust in institutions. Oh, that's right. That's what it is. We don't trust the New York Times. We don't trust the institutions who the only thing they've ever done consistently is lie. We didn't trust them not to lie. Therefore, we're at risk of dying by conspiracy theory. A decline in trust in institutions and Mr. Trump's conspiratorial and violent language. See how they put that in there? They kind of they slowly try and make this a violent thing. And that's what they're leading to at the end of this. Not to spoil it, but this starts with flat earth and it ends with you're going to probably chop a family member's head off or get yours chopped off. I'm not even kidding. Okay, so the Institute of Strategic Dialogue, which is a propaganda institution, they identified a rash of violent incidents last year linked to perpetrators influenced by conspiracy theories about chemtrails, 9/11 elections, and 9/11 elections. It's very vague. And the pandemic and more and more. Well, what else? One man who was fueled by rage against the government, immigrants, the gay community, and the Black Lives Matter movement, according to prosecutors, killed and then beheaded his father. That's the point of this whole article. You have a friend that believes in the flat earth theory? Maybe they question the vaccine? Maybe, just maybe. They believe in weather control. Well, off goes your head if you're not paying attention, because they're going to kill you and your family. That's this article. Hey, do you have that article ready about how flat earth leads to beheading your father? Okay, let's go ahead and publish that. No, we don't need any edits. Just publish it. The leaps of logic here. Who is this targeting? I mean, I have friends who, if they read this, they'd probably be like, oh my God. They might be worried that I could be a beheader. Put that fork down, Brad. Put the fork down, Brad. Why are you wearing so many turtlenecks, dude? For radicalized individuals whose worldviews are warped by these theories and who are already primed to commit violence. They prove none of that's just, I don't know why I'm flabbergasted by this. This is how it all is. Who are already primed to commit violence. Political developments and other events have the potential to serve as catalysts to action. Okay, one researcher writes. And this is the best here. What other topics are going from shunned to the spotlight? Angelo Carusone, the president of Media Matters, a very reputable organization, Media Matters, a left-wing advocacy group that monitors misinformation, said that he was pretty bullish on demons as the next big one. Demons. Mr. Trump referred to demonic forces on the campaign trail and called Democrats a very demonic party. Days before interviewing both Donald Trump Jr. and Mr. Musk at Mar-a-Lago on Election Day, Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News host, posted a YouTube video claiming he has been attacked in the night by a demon or by something unseen. Dan Bongino, a right-wing pundit and podcaster who is now the deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, said on his show that demon energy is real. It's no longer an abstraction. It's straight up demons, Mr. Karason said. The fever swamps are all of our reality right now. So, if your friend believes in the flat earth theory or questions the vaccine, he's either going to decapitate you or stab you in the heart with a wooden cross. New York Times. That's me. This is a circus. Make demons great again, says Stella. Beheadings are environmentally friendly. He's right. That's where they're conflicted. You don't see any articles about how beheadings help climate change. But they do. Stella's right. Beheadings and demon murders help climate change. I'm convinced that they are all body snatched with imposters. If you call the White House, no one there can define justice as universally defined in Plato's Republic. They just landed. Called it. It's just, we live in griftopia everywhere. Left, right, everything, center, libertarians especially. It's all griftopia. And this shit here is like, so what do you guys think about the writer of this article? I guess I don't know enough about what else she's written. I guess we could look. I don't feel like somebody who wrote this article genuinely believes anything that she's saying. If she does, then she has some very serious problems. More so than most people. I mean, like really more so than most people. Like her family needs to intervene type of problems. But I don't think that that's the case. I think Tiffany here, blubber-faced Tiffany Hsu here, a technology reporter for the New York Times, covering the information ecosystem, including foreign influence and political speech and defamation. Let's see what else she writes. Oh, you guys can't see that. So a couple of her other articles, I think these are hers. Trump's return to power elevates for, we saw that one. Could Mars be Elon Musk's next business venture? Man, probably. The White House frames the past by erasing parts of it. That's another disingenuous article. How Russia, China, and Iran are interfering in the presidential election. All right, so someone who writes an article like the one we just went through, if they do it intentionally, if they're not a true believer, then that is a person whose goal in writing the article is anytime you write something like that, you have a goal. That's what you're taught in journalism school. What's the goal of the article? What point are you trying to get across? Whatever. Her goal is to make her readers believe that they're going to be killed in a very brutal way, that they are viewed as unhuman, demons. Her goal seems to be a manifestation of violence. Because if you believed that your friend who's just like, maybe be like the biggest stoner flat earther in the world, like the nicest person ever. I've never met a flat earther who's not just like super chill. But if you actually believe that person was going to sever your head off while you sleep, or maybe while you're awake, or if you believe that they believe that you are a demon, self-defense proactively is really the only thing to do. Either leave the country and get the hell out of there, because you can't call the cops. You can't say, please, 911. What's the emergency? Are you in a safe location? I think so. My friend is down the street. He's a flat earther. I'm terrified. You can't call 911 and do that because they can't just come arrest flat earthers. So if someone actually buys into stuff like this, then proactive action is the only way to stop it. I think that is a large part of the goal of propaganda. Is most people aren't going to fully buy into that fear, but a small percentage of people are going to be so just consumed by it and baited into thinking they're going to die that they will manifest some of this reality. And then it's kind of a repeating cycle. When one of them buys it and something violent happens on either, I'm not saying just the left, it could be any side. Then you can then write another crazy article citing this thing that you caused as evidence of the thing that you tried to manifest. I've told you guys about the woman that I talked to in Marietta Square, who I asked her if she was an indivisible activist, 72-year-old woman, and I asked her if any Trump people had said anything to her, and she told me, yeah, that there was a Trump supporter that drove his car by her and Heiled Hitler while he was driving. I said, while he was driving? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, he was driving and he saw you and he was so infuriated that he Heiled Hitler. Was he driving if he was driving a Tesla and it was self-driving, then he can Heil Hitler everywhere. So ironically, this woman owned a Tesla and was very ashamed about it. But she told me that in that moment, when this person who she says Heiled Hitler, I don't believe her story at all, but she says that she wished in that moment that she had an axe and she would have run out and she would have chopped his car up. I played the clip on the show. And she said, I would have happily gone to jail for it, to chop up his car. The guy was probably knocking his visor down. He probably didn't even see her. I think you target a small group of people who will believe anything, and you try to manifest that reality and create that cycle. You see that a lot on X and other social media platforms, where it's this like reality of just total race war divisiveness, where it's like, you think people just want to murder each other. But then you talk to people offline, and it's like nobody even knows about any of the stories everybody on X or Facebook are fighting about. They've never heard of them. But then it kind of leaks out, and any story that might be able to be roped into this framing, whether or not for X purposes it is racial or is not, sometimes it is. Maybe it's manifest. I don't know. I think that is a major part of the social media psyop with the media is the slow manifestation of this divide and conquer reality that I really don't think in large part exists. I mean, eventually, auto Hitler, yeah. That's hilarious. Auto hit, yeah. It's probably a button on the new Tesla, the auto Hitler button. This is OMZ one. So that kind of election conspiracy theory is okay. Yeah, right. Disinformation and conspiracies are in the same sentence. Says it all. Debunked. What does that even mean? The careful maintenance of privacy, diversity, and equality with a rigorous education of the protectors of the cities. That is what they don't know. OMZ1 says. Let's see what else we got here. All right. I don't know. It's wild because it is easy to, if you're on social media a lot, like X, to think a race war is breaking out. But then you're somebody like me who literally plays basketball all the time, around black guys all the time, who've never heard of any of the stuff on X. And I ask them, never heard of any of it. That doesn't mean they won't eventually. That doesn't mean maybe, I wonder what percentage of people know about some of these very divisive stories that you discover on one platform or another. I don't know how to measure that. Hitler is like a cute Jewish caricature to me. Yeah, he is. I think Hitler was retarded. I mean, I think Hitler was a basket case. Just reading his book, he doesn't come off as somebody who can do anything to me. He comes off as that guy that you call and check in on every few weeks. Or like, okay, you're just hoping he gets his life together. That was about the author of the article. What was about the author of the article? Disinformation conspiracies are in the same sentence. Oh, talking about the person who wrote that New York Times article. She had to squeeze her face into that little circle for her thing. I tried to tell people to stay away from Ozempic, but maybe she should give it a try. They fed Hitler narcotics. Yeah, I mean, they fed the Nazis narcotics, and I doubt Hitler was like, my body is my temple. I keep equilibrium all the time. I doubt that was Hitler's philosophy. Hitler's like, I never drink. I stay off of the drugs. I jog every single morning. I play with my dogs. And I kill 500, 600,000 Jews. I'm in bed by 7 p.m. every night. Because I got to get up and train. Ohmsey says that is the universal definition of justice. From Plato's Republic, Socrates was actually killed because he was going around asking people their deaths. Yeah, that was he poisoned the youth by asking questions. Yeah. Tell you what, when I read Plato for the first time, it was in my late 20s, and it just like, you could feel the nodes creating in your brain. It's just like mind expanding. It's the way it makes you think. And then, you'll read just the most mind-bending, life-changing passage. And then the next one will be like, and then Socrates had sex with so-and-so's son. It's like, oh my God. Because you push that back a few chapters. I do think that ancient philosophy should be taught. It just teaches you to think, even though I kid about the pedantry or whatever they called it. Let's talk about the Met Gala. Let's do that. Hitler's Brother Landscaping. Yeah. It's still like, it's not actually the name of it. I wish it was the name of the Hitler brothers up there in Long Island. The last remaining descendants of the Hitler family. Up there running that little landscaping company. We'll get those undesirables out of your lawn. We'll exterminate them with a Holocaust no one can deny. Hitler Landscaping. I think right now maybe they should change it to Hitler Landscaping, because maybe that would help their business at this point. If they advertised on X, I think it would definitely help their business. So, blades of grass, the freshly cut grass smell that we just love. Humans do. That's actually grass screaming in terror to other grass that genocide is happening. That's how they communicate that. And we just love that smell of grass death. I made a video about Hitler landscaping a little while back, so you should check it out. It's true. I don't know what their actual names are. I think they should come back, though. I think they should maybe bring it back. Give it a try. Because right now, people would go use their landscaping just to, like, own the libs or for free speech, you know. Yeah, we all love the smell of a little grass death in the morning. Screaming bloody murder. It's what it is. It's crazy. All right, let's look at the Met Gala. Let me get out of here. We'll do GTA 6. We'll do that tomorrow. All right, so I'll make this quick. The Met Gala, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I didn't realize that the Met Gala, which was last night, they have a theme every year. And I also didn't realize it was a big fundraiser for a museum of costume, the Museum of Art's Costume Institute in Manhattan. And that every single year they have a different theme. I thought the theme was the same every year. I thought it was always retarded dipshits. But apparently that's not always the theme. That's just always the outcome. And the theme this year, what was it? It was something I'd never heard of before that I've been learning about. Black dandyism was the theme this year, which they apparently failed very badly at. And I will let somebody who wrote the book on black dandyism tell you what black dandyism is. Where's that black dandyism? Like, I let you guess which one is the black dandyism lady by the outfit.
Before we get there, you literally wrote the book on black dandyism. So how do you define dandyism before we talk about last night?
Good morning, Rahel. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Black dandyism has been a historical, social political movement where Black people, men, women, trans men, take traditional European style and mix it with African diasporan sensibilities.
Does that make any sense to you? Captured a little bit of it. It seems like black dandyism is black people dressing like European fags. Culturally appropriating 19th century British dandies. Remember you call somebody a dandy? Oh, you're such a dandy. It's like they dress like British dandies from Africa, I think is what black dandyism is. From her perspective, what I learned is that it was something that black people would do during the slave days as a way to protest. It's a way to protest. And she has a deep connection to it if you watch this interview. And it's funny to me because I certainly disagree with this woman on probably most things, but I appreciate her honesty. In this next question, when she's asked about how she thanks people at the Met Gala, who did the best at showcasing what to her is like a historical, political thing that goes all the way back to the days of slavery. And this is supposed to be a puff piece about how beautiful everybody looked in the retarded shit. But this chick is very honest, and she didn't really like what she saw.
So last night, now knowing that, who do you think embodied the theme best?
It was such a tough, I think the African sensibilities was missing, Rahel. I feel like people embodied classical European dandyism and the idea of people of African descent taking European clothing. I mean, Tiana Taylor, most certainly, she killed her outfit. So did Tracy Ellis Ross. She never disappoints. Andre 3000, of course.
I know who he is.
Just the fact that he came out with something very interesting. I think their looks all were incredible. But
there's somebody walking through into the Met Gala right now with a costume on that is a piano on their back. Instead of, how you carry a guitar on your back, this person's carrying a prop piano. I don't think many slaves protested by walking around the fields with a prop piano on their back. I think he missed the mark on this outfit.
But in terms of the core of Black dandyism, I can't say that I saw that last night.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Was that Andre 3000 wearing the black piano, D's? I didn't realize that was him.
And look, I mean, you've covered the history of the aesthetic for more than a decade. In 2010, you curated.
All right, next. She nails exactly what these events are. This is why I like this lady here. She wanted this to be something else, but she calls it for what it is and what all these political events are, in my opinion.
Curated an exhibition on Black dandyism in Harlem. And you told our producers that you found an aspect of the Met Gala last night disappointing. You said it was exhausting. What did you mean by that?
I mean that it really felt like
definitely exhausting
experience by myself and so many people who were at the heart of contemporary Black dandyism. That was missing. It felt like the movement had been co-opted, and so the social political nature of Black dandyism was completely left out of the conversation.
It'd been co-opted. That's what all of these things are, co-opted. Every little bit of maybe a grassroots movement that starts, which it's hard to even find those anymore because they're so co-opted. But they're taken over, if they're not just astroturfed to begin with, by figures who wear the colors and attempt to appear to be what represents the original thing. Strictly for profit, which is what this thing is for. None of these people probably even know what Black dandyism is. They probably were given costumes by their wardrobe person, and they probably are as unfamiliar with the term as I was before I watched this lady. It's for money. It's to get the most attention by looking the most ridiculous. And this woman here, I wonder if she actually believed it wasn't going to be that. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she's just using this opportunity to get some press on CNN. Now this interviewer plays a clip of somebody involved in it and asks what this woman. So this woman is like the one who's like the, true believer. And she plays a clip of someone who's just in it for the show of it and gets this lady's reaction from it. And I found this to be also refreshing.
I actually want to play for you something that the editor-in-chief, Anna Wintour of Vogue, said. This is when she was speaking to ABC News. I saw it last night, but she admitted in this interview that more work needs to be done when it comes to race and fashion. But she also said this. Take a listen.
Look at that outfit.
What I'm hoping that this
dumb bitch, whoever she is, in this interview, this British white lady, she looks white. Maybe I don't know. She's wearing big, giant sunglasses inside.
exhibition will do is really put a light on the talent of all these arbiters of style and look at their traditions and their history
weird
and their
edit.
culture. But most importantly to me, in a way, is when I look at the show, I see freedom, I see liberation, I see hope, I see respect.
You see
I see joy.
dollar signs, joy.
Chantal, do you think based on what we saw last night, and I take your point that there were aspects certainly of dandyism that spans hundreds of years that were missing, do you think based on what we saw last night, they got it right, they got some parts right? I mean, how do you see that based on what you just heard from Anna Wintour?
I think the joy was there if you want to celebrate consumerism and if you want to celebrate celebrities themselves. But
that's exactly what it was. If you want to celebrate consumerism and celebrity themselves, bingo. Of course, that's what it was. Freemasonry everywhere. Yeah, I agree with that. Satanic parade. Andre 3000. I like Andre 3000. He probably was just looking for the most wild stuff. Fucking piano. It's like this interview with the clips playing is framing it through this woman's lens of the true believer and showing images of people who don't know anything about what she's talking about. It's so stupid. It's like every politician, I was talking about AOC and Stacey Abrams, it's all co-opted. It's all BS. Now, here, the they, them, Stella, you mentioned that. Here's another person that ABC had on to talk about this. And I don't even know what she said. I just thought that this person that they were interviewing about this was hilarious looking.
The Met Gala clearly has arrived, and joining us now is celebrity stylist Vaughn Ford, who dressed and styled rapper Kate Tronada.
Okay, so this is a celebrity stylist who dressed Kate Tronada, whoever that is. For those listening, this appears to be, I'm not quite sure what this person is on screen. If I were about to get styled and this person in a gray suit, who I think is a biological female with Stacey Abrams hair, big black glasses, and a goatee, came up to style me, I think I would ask if I could get an Uber home. This person comes up to style you. It's like a transgender dystopian nightmare from hell, what this person looks like.
For the gala tonight. Vaughn, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
So once the theme
I'm not sure if this is this is a strange individual.
is announced, how long until you start brainstorming?
Honestly, it's more of the battle of getting the invitation, you know? But I mean, typically, you know, it's...
I wonder what her brainstorm is like. You know, it's probably very, very transy. You know, how can I put a dick on this? Vagina on this, maybe a dick on a forehead. You know, maybe a vagina on a belly, but just nothing but weird, sadistic, unnatural stuff.
His first met, so we were like, we really would like to go. And once we got our invite, we had only...
Hey, here's your wardrobe person, the most uncomfortable person that anybody here has ever been around. This is going to be the person dressing you.
A month to turn this around.
This is a guy, D's laughs, this person? This is a biological male? Really? Are you serious? Now I'm just bashing a flamer if that's the case, D's laughs. Now I feel bad if you're telling me the truth.
And so give us a sense of
what's
what
wrong
that
with his
timeline
voice?
is like, what takes place during that month.
So I basically put together mood boards and then lists of my favorite designers that I think that could like handle the look and give us what we are looking for.
I wonder his list of favorite, her or theirs, I don't know, list of favorite designers is. I can't look at this person anymore. I'm done. Kamala showed up, by the way. Deez, tell me if that's actually a guy, really a guy. Kamala showed up, as you can see. Here's Kamala and Dougie at the Met Gala with their stud there. Is that what it's called? What's it called? Oh, with their bull, excuse me. For those just looking or just listening, there's Kamala dressed like a black and white cookie, holding hands with gay-looking Dougie, cucky Dougie, with what looks like a black Nigerian guy waiting for Doug to give him the okay to have sex with Kamala in front of him while he watches. That's what this picture looks like. And here's another picture of Kamala dressed as a black and white cookie, one that Doug likes to watch Nigerians eat. And finally, a couple photos here of the whole. Look at this. What is this? Look at this. Look at this outfit here. Yeah, I'm sure this is what that activist meant here. This woman here, and this. I don't even know what this is. This person looks like a DEI Sherlock Holmes. If Sherlock Holmes were like a playing card or something, or the Penguin, a black female penguin who had sex with the King of Diamonds. I mean, what is this? You think that's in her closet? She's have a bunch of weird outfits like that hanging in her closet. How do you wash that? You got to dry clean that? You throw that in the washing machine. Maybe you hang that on a outside on a sunny day, and then you have. Is this the same person? I guess. Is this what it looks like when she takes that jacket off? Oh, here you go. I don't know who this is, but this person here looks like Macy Gray getting swallowed by a seashell at the beach. Like she listened too closely and she's getting swallowed in. And I don't know who this guy is. He has to hold her. It's inside, and this guy's got to follow her around and hold an umbrella over her. Now there's Holly Berry right there. Holly Berry looks like she got tarred but not feathered, and she looks great. I don't know who this is. Who is that? I don't know who that is. Cardi B. Okay. Cardi B looks like dank weed to me, but fabulous breast. Cardi B looks like you'd pick her up and smoke her. I'm not quite sure what this is. Is this Rihanna? Is this Rihanna as a pregnant man? This is like Rihanna as like a angry dude. It's like angry pregnant dude, Rihanna. What? Is that a sport coat and like suit as a tail there? What is that? This is so stupid. Like, how could you put this stuff on? I mean, I'd rather be dressed as a furry than this stuff. I think that's Usher. I don't know who that woman is. Is that like a Willy Wonka type thing going on there? She's hot. The hat's stupid. I mean, that hat looks like a footstool. Is that Anthony Weiner? Oh my God. Is that over her left shoulder? Is that Anthony Weiner? It looks like Anthony Weiner. It's probably like a child just right outside a frame, dressed as a tree or something. Don't know what that is. Oh my God. What the hell is that? This person looks like... What is this? This is like a red-haired girl. Where'd it go? Who is this? Damn it. I lost it. Who is this? She looks like... This lady or girl looks like a baby that just survived an abortion. She got out just in time. Chappelle Roan is who that is. Mama tried, and this bitch crawled right out over the coat hanger. There's a whale. Let's see. This guy's dressing as like a genie. It's like a Saudi Arabian genie here. And we want to put you in a Saudi Arabian transgender genie outfit, and we're going to give you a sword that's actually a cane. And it's for black dandyism. This girl has a poodle on her head. She looks like she's a ballerina. What is that? Wearing like a designer diaper that goes up to her tits is what it looks like. Now, whoever that is, I'm okay with this. This is the best. This is the best outfit. This is the winner. This is your winner right there. Not that guy. Where that guy is. Where did it go? There's your winner. She wins. Kylie Jenner. Well, I wish it wouldn't have been Kylie Jenner, but she's the only one that doesn't look like a full retard. God, this is so stupid. Get that bitch's comment off the screen. Dressed goblins get together. Shame. Kylie Jenner's actually a man. Man, we live in a world where that whole, I can't remember who used to host it, but it was one of those daytime talk shows where the actual whole point of the talk show would be like, we have, today on Donahue, we have 10 beautiful supermodels, but one of them is a man. And the whole thing was like the guys had to guess and just hope that they weren't gay. But that's like reality now. Everything could be Funky Cole Medina at this point. One of your great-grandmothers owns one. Is Pocahontas? Is Elizabeth Warren your great-grandmother? Oh, the actual Pocahontas. That's very cool. It's very cool. What do you think about Pocahontas? I mean Elizabeth Warren, not Pocahontas. Willy Wonka's second cousin. A lot of Hunger Games looks. Yeah, totally, Rumlix. Rocky's. Oh, yeah, that one did look like Rocky's. Adrian. Yo, Adrian. Yeah, it's crazy. The new Fansworth Bentley. There's so much wisdom in certain medical practices. 600 medical schools were destroyed in the purge. With licensing programming that the Rockefeller started, says Ohms one. Yeah, it's like they went one direction with pharmaceuticals a long, long time ago. That skirt looks so last minute. A lot of this stuff looks like it's like ritualistic. Like I don't know anybody who I could get to wear any of this stuff because they would be like, you're trying to humiliate me. They're like, I'm not going to go anywhere like that. You're just trying to humiliate me. I asked 5 chemists yesterday where I can buy methylene blue. Now, one of them knew what it was. Where did you find 5 chemists, Stella? That's stupid gay. Moab is a baby man. Well, yeah, you have no idea if Caitlyn Jenner is a man. You're just going with as possible. Yeah, I'm going to have to research it now. And if I find out that you're right, I'm going to have to go do a cold plunge. A couple of them to get it off me. D's, did you grow up in the 80s? It's funny. All right, guys. I think that's... oh, wait. I forgot about this one. You guys probably saw this one. What did you guys think of this? What did you guys think of... was like the living rooms of New Yorkers, and it was Alex Soros and Uma Abedin. I want to see the photos that they didn't use. Chemist is what we call pharmacist. That makes me think of It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, I think you're right, Zach. Because that's what they called the chemist. George Bailey. George Bailey, he saved the chemist from poisoning the kid. Looks like vomit. You talking about them? Thank you, Groby. I would love to see the contact sheet here for Uma Abedin and Alex Soros. I mean, Alex Soros looks like he's trying to bury his boner with that, the way he's, like there's a naked midget or something on the other side. He just keeps getting rock hard. They're like, Alex, bury your boner. And he had to cross his legs very, very, he's scissoring himself almost. And wearing Nike shoes. He's wearing Nike shoes that appear to be 3 or 4 inch thicker than normal ones to make them taller. You see that in the bottom? Look at that. Move that there. Hey, look at his shoes down there. Those just seem to be a little bit thicker than normal. Like he's wearing some risers. Or maybe his pussy just smells. Maybe that's why he's crossing his legs like that. It's just such an odd picture. Alex Soros is the least intimidating person that I think I've ever seen. He needs lady soap. Yeah, he needs to douche. He has a yeast infection. That's why he's sitting like that. He's got a bad yeast infection. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. Some of the great comments. We'll be back Thursday for sure. We'll be back tomorrow. Probably a little bit of a shorter show tomorrow, but we will be back. And we'll do it again. Propagandafight.com, at Freedom Act Radio on X, youtube.com/Brad Binkley. All the links are in bio of X. Talk to y'all later. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your evening. Stella says that Alex Soros looks like he took the day off when they were handing out charisma. Yeah, he is kind of anti-charisma. I think he does. He doesn't really command the room. Man. He's like worse than Doug Emhoff. It's bad. All right, we'll see you guys.